please. It's not the Rocky Horror Show, you know. Toast. For those in the know, hi, welcome. Thank you very much for coming. Glad we were able to squeeze you all in, and I'm really sorry about being late. It's my fault. I forgot the technology. My name's Mac, and this is called a talk on rhyme, reason, and caricature. And the reason. And what I'm going to do is also a kind of a little launch of this little book. So we're going to go through the book, and I'm going to talk about things absolutely unrelated to the book. So let's just hope this looks as good as it did this morning when I woke up and had 3 coffees. Caricature. Husband says to his wife on their 30th wedding anniversary, "Honey, I'm going to make you the happiest woman in the world." And the wife says, "I'll miss you." Believe it or not, one thing I try to do is keep my thoughts to myself. It's not that I'm shy, heaven knows. In fact, like most people, I enjoy nothing more than chatting the day away, sharing ideas, especially my own. Like I might be walking down the street. It's a beautiful day, there's someone waiting there for their dog, and I might think to myself, if that was my dog, I'd make it bag of its own fucking shit. But like most people, I just don't have the time. I mean, there's things to do. Chat, yes, I can chat. I can chat for Britain. Hi, how are you? Oh, fine, thank you. How are you? Yeah, me too, I'm fine, yeah. Great. Fantastic. Super. Yeah. Sorry? No, I'm sorry. Hey, we should get together for that drink, dinner, chat, game, night, lunch, brunch, dinner, coffee, jam, toast, natter, giggle, gossip, help, white swap, fight club, solitary competition, whatever. And you know what? At the same time, I can't help thinking rather impatiently to myself, when is this twaddling wrestling bout of neither of us means it inanities ever going to end? While the other person is thinking, I'm sure, what am I, this guy's social secretary or something? Is there no one else on this God-forsaken planet for this guy to talk to? Anyway, this acquaintance and I, we've only just bumped into each other. It's not as if we're the only 2 members of our species left alive on the planet. It's a coincidence. We're crying about it. It's not like we're going to shack up together, have each other's babies, or apply for a joint mortgage or something. And at the same time, I'm sure my acquaintance is thinking to himself, I just said hello because I couldn't get away without passing by unnoticed. What the fuck is this guy's name again anyway? Why can't he just get a freaking life instead of interrupting mine? And I'm thinking at the same time, Jesus Christ, what time is it now anyway? This is like another 30 seconds of my entire life being wasted. Don't know any of you have that thing. Neither of us says any of this out loud, of course. We just kind of look for a way out. Great to see you, though. Yeah, you too. Love to Jane and the kids. Yeah. You too. Keep your pecker up. And I walk away, muttering to myself, keep your pecker up. What kind of thing is that to say, another guy? This whole highly evolved, communicating, behavioral, talking and listening thing is obviously very important to our species and its social evolution. It's just that for me, this is the listening bit that I'm not so up on. It's like wisdom teeth, isn't it? Some are impacted and rot away visibly beneath your gums. Others are such a pain that you need drugs to cope. And in like a worst case scenario, you have to have them surgically removed. I mean that as a metaphor. Obviously, you can't have your friends removed on the NHS. Maybe you can. But that thought about cutting through, getting down to the bone, the nugget, the nuts and bolts, the core, the essence, the nub of it, is that, and you may not have noticed yet, but that I haven't
even though the title of this talk is Rhyme, Reason, and Caricature, I have yet to rhyme any one thing with another. Because so far in this monologue, which I have to admit is my preferred form of open discussion, I simply have not been able to fit any rhymes in. They don't come easy, they don't come naturally. They don't come with anchovies, they don't come with pickles, they don't come with double cream, mustard, or even with each other. So I, as in we, are stuck in the parallel universe of my opinion about everything and nothing. Which means it's time to derail this particular train of thought and caricature life in a nutshell. And if I'm losing you here, just metaphorically crack open a walnut and tell me what it looks like inside. Okay, so let's getting it on with your life. You know, once this talk is over and you've completed your degree at the Independent School of Art, what about getting a job? You know? Because I've been thinking, you know, how you can compete with the best, how you can control your civil unrest when you were, in effect, job for life less. Well, my advice is simple. Just aim to be the best slave owner, coffee grower, military planner, exporter of CCTV cameras, a game show host, a homeowner, bad credit rating, a voice in a call center, an absentee landlord, or even a bed and breakfast accommodation agent, a land grabber, handbagger, mugger, union buster, rich bastard, finger whacker, dope dealer, drug addict, the soup kitchen cure, the next sunlight sets ruler, hypocrite or despot proper, amusement parkade mammal, plains spotter, football fan, ladies man, TV watcher, or door stopper, a drive-by rubbernecker, or a road rage hogger, a mouthpiece, a foul of beaches, a lord, lady, media baron, an aristocratic wife beater, an out-of-work miner, a steelworker, a car shiner, a doctor, a nurse, a footy millionaire, a nuclear plant engineer, or a stylist of hair, a Q-former, a racehorse owner, a chronic gambler, a non-residential city planner, a badger baker, or a pension age gallery invigilator, a dreamer of fortune, a soldier of empire, an actor in a soap opera, a trend-setting latest fashion wear, a churchgoer, stay-at-homer, farmer, harmer, pacifist, or alarmist, a performance artist, or a privately funded scientist, a world polluter, or an IMF banker, a capitalist, or a wanker. At the end is nigh soothsayer, an offshore tax haven squatter, a stock market player, an architect, or homeless, a post person, or fungus, a collector of credit cards, a redundant worker in shipyards, a sorter of cinema seats, a curb crawler, or a walker of unsafe streets, a judge, or a hooker, a tuxedo-renting player of snooker, a joiner of fan clubs or police forces, a converter of green and pleasant landscapes into golf courses, a host or a hostess, a waitress or redundancy heiress, a multinational shareholder, secretary, homeowner, whistleblower, a crime scene investigator, TV pundit, or a computer operator, a hospital patient, even a crime victim. You can see, I've been thinking, because you know, it's so hard to do, it's really hard to choose the right. No job is for life for you. And that's why I made up this list, because jobs come and jobs go too, and these days a job for life is all too easy to lose. But I'd like to tell you about an old friend of mine named Doug. I never see him these days, you know, and I think that's actually quite an important factor in why our relationship is so enduring. Anyway, he made up what I thought was a good analogy about the fruits of friendship in reference to the Beatles' songwriting partnership of Lennon and McCartney. Doug said they were like grains of sand in the oyster of each other's souls, around which pearls of wisdom slowly form. The truth is, these days I rarely see any of my old friends, let alone Doug, but, you know, I think if Lennon and McCartney were unto each other, like irritated grains of sand in an animal that is little more than a stomach in a shell, Doug and I are unto each other like gallstones, small, hard, crystalline masses that form in the bladder and cause immense discomfort. Which is kind of a metaphoric caricature, a kind of cartoon, which draws out a certain kind of truth, which is similar to what some people get from one of the many idiosyncrasies of language which we refer to as rhyme, which is often a little more complicated, than it sounds. And just this morning, in fact, I was contemplating this. After a heavy night of drinking, I woke up with that sinking feeling, thinking about my life in poetry. Hungover and feeling sick, what I questioned was precisely this. What in poetry is worse? A rhyming couplet or free verse? You see, as I've got older, I'm a little more dismissive. Guilty feelings cause my conscience to be that little more contritious. But my intention is not to be either tasteful or entirely dismissive. It's just that sometimes what is lyrical is considered controversial if its verses are traditionally defined. On the other hand, to some, essentially, a poem is only poetic conventionally if it rhymes. Now, it may be that pretty patterns, when voiced in poetry, happen to describe in primitive ways the reality that we, as part of an evolving continuity, amass somehow organically attractions to ornamentally or decoratively ornate, orated subjective histories. So here, let's take a moment to consider a discourse on the sources, the intentions, and purposes of why anything is ever writ, rhymed, or ever said. And through this question, the worth of conveying any words that might ever happen to escape anyone's head. Poetic meter is like the pitter-patter beat of little feet along a time. The rhythm isn't everything, though sometimes there's a schism like a poet. He can seem a little wizened with old age, like myself. I remember the salad days of my youth when memory finally doesn't always quite remember the truth. Like, you know, if you set eyes upon the setting sun, you realize it's going to be blinding, or find that you're listening to me and this voyage just begun. Down this two-step in rhyme, trip into one thing, the next thing I'm saying is pentameter, which means 5 feet dense and sweet along some spoken word drum beat, bashing out a rhyming scheme like some walking nightmare or daydream, whatever. It's all syncopated, hardcore, that goes right back to the good old days of yesterday, when the rhyme and the hook of this line and its foot is like a tap dance, and it's the proof that Shakespeare's inspired MCs, from F. Scott Fitzgerald to Jay-Z, from Mr. Mike to the Marleys, maybe even the A-Team, whatever. For me, the last 500 years of poetry is like my favorite ice cream. But not always what it seems, because sometimes I realize that what everyone's most afraid of is what's deep inside. Am I right? But given the choice, I'd rather voice these deep-seated fears that rise up from my soul. Without poetry, I don't feel like a whole person. And that's the role the poet's dole, to speak this unspoken music that rises up from the deepest holes of our drifting souls. Anyway, back in the real world, while I was pondering the fascinating way we interact and so on, I was thinking about the other day when I was walking down to the shops. It was a perfect day, a perfect moment, and I was looking for something, I don't know what, like maybe an idea, some inspiration, I suppose. And as I'm walking, I spot ahead of me, amongst the throng of consumers, shoppers, people busy with, you know, their life offline, and so on. In the distance, I spot this fluorescent vest. And in that same instant, this eye of this vested person has in turn spotted me. And I think, oh no, it's a cherry garden. But unlike so many times before, this time, having made eye contact, I'm ready. I've been accosted by chuggers like this so many times, it has spurred me to research, by which I mean Google, the kind of training people like these chuggers get indoctrinated into. I know you're thinking, how sad is that, Googling the lives of charity monks, but I blame my parents, partly out of convenience, but mostly because they forced me to go to cups. So if I don't feel prepared, I get feeling anxious, and I get feeling slightly inferior. Akela, my old wolf pack mistress,
time, she was only referring to those little merit badges my mother would sew onto my Cub Scout sleeve when I got home. But anyway, it stayed with me ever since. So even before the high-vis vest guy starts his pitch, I'm instinctively prepared with a little strategy of my own, which boils down to the maxim, the best defense is often found in being offensive. Holding up a hand as if to say, you cannot come into my personal space, especially dressed like that. I set off ranting at a steady, even pace. Honestly, my friend, it's all very interesting, and I would love to save the planet, stroke animals, stroke children. Sorry, I don't mean stroke children. Obviously, I mean slash children. Yeah, and instead of my thoughts carrying me ever onward to dialectic victory, already, you see, I had gone awry. It started to go horribly wrong, and I know it. I can feel it inside. What's worse is there's nothing I can do. It's like I've got verbal inertia. It's got a momentum all its own. So I carry on rambling, trying to establish myself in the moment of now, which is not so dissimilar from trying to establish myself in the great canon of poetry, poets, in the great history of literature itself. Where does one fit? We've got Ted Hughes caught in the headlands of Philip Larkin's train of thought, howling through Allen Ginsberg's address to Gettysburg with Sylvia Plath in the monastery, Ariel in the cupboard, T.S. Eliot, wasted, Andrew Motion, halted, Carol Ann Duffy, the New Moon's wife, Simon Armitage, in the window, John Higley, Des Hannigan, Dylan Thomas, cost you a penny, heaven cost a penny. Set text in wafting schools, but there's no Tom Gunn allowed. They get outlawed to California, not laureated like Linton, McQuasey, Johnson, Lem Sissay in the playground, Joan Clark, Lord of the Manx, Ruth Patlow with the biblical forays, Peter Redgrove and his wife, knee-high DMs laced up, William Carlos Williams, double-barrel forename, so yeah, he gets in twice. Beckett in the bathroom, reading the paper he should be using, Walt Whitman, Lost in the Woods, Backroom, Bukowski, Rollers, Clemo, Blind as a Keel, Deprima, not Madonna, Manly Hopkins, not Antony, and his love of Chianti. You know what I mean. Browning mowing down the soft targets, Hardy of the Dubervilles. If you can't be a poet, well, I suppose being a successful author will just have to do. Dunn, Good, Dylan, changing tires out there on Highway 61. Oh yeah, they're all real party people. From Pam Ayres and Grace's Manic God Kate, everyone knows it's Wendy who can barely cope if they haven't felt the Peter Finch. They had their Gil Scott's Revolutionary Channel hops. They've had Roger McGuff of Benji Zephaniah coming late on the menu with his vegan soup. So swiftly on, Freud, Boyle again, Higgins boson, only theoretical, but we're sure existed out there somewhere once. Putting Briarwood on the map, I think it's Welsh near Wells, seething or otherwise well read. Apparently, you Betjeman, Palin, Binta, bit of a breeze in it, Liston, Shattercock, Sheen, Shuttleton, John Siddique, didn't he do well? Stammers, all the impediments. Finally, Ian Hamilton Finley. Who's next? Oh, Heathcote, Will I Ams, none of which bloody rhymes, and I'm not even in the list. Probably burns me right up. Anyway. Back on the street, having erected what I thought were my well-prepared antisocial defenses, I realize there's a chink in my armor. I forget that any street-savvy, street vending, street talking, street person from the street is going to be a face-weary, battle-hardened, chugging veteran. Someone who has been out here pretending to listen to and be interested in neurotic, self-absorbed people like me for days. So, my well-prepared, offensive monologue is for them, just part of the dirty job. Someone's got to do it. Combat conditions that this charity commission person has trained. So even as I find myself thinking, what kind of a way is this for a person to pay off their student loan? I realize he's got it. I've made the fatal mistake of stopping and standing there, pontificating like a sitting duck, instead of doing what everyone else normally does, walk briskly past with a concerned but pained look on my face that says, oh gee, I'm sorry, I just haven't got the time. I'm in such a rush. You understand, don't you, fellow person who can relate to me, and that we both have to put up with all sorts of endless crap in this awful, awful world. Bye. But I didn't. Lost in my own self-obsessed thoughts, I had committed the cardinal sin. I'd stopped to speak with him in the first place, and he knows that all he has to do now is wait for me to take a breath, to pause, to stumble upon my own thoughts. He can sense that my think tank is flashing, empty. So now, feeling faint and panicking, I'm trying desperately to keep my train of thought on track. God, I'm like a drowning man, gasping for ideas. Well, if it's for animals, I think they should be a priority, of course, especially the extinct ones. Although, I suppose technically, it's too late, right? Then again, maybe we could just breed them in zoos till we fix their habitats back up. Although, that hasn't worked for pandas, which don't want to mate in captivity, so they show them panda sex movies, which makes me think in light of the Savile story. Does your organization fund animal porn? There's your answer right there. At which point, I knew the game was up. Rule number 1 in avoiding charity muckers, of course, is don't stop walking. Rule number 2 is never ask them a question. But I needed a chance to think, to refuel, to catch my breath, get my thinking cap on. I mean, even Superman needs to find a nearby phone booth to change sometimes. I just needed a moment to get that twinkle back in my eye, indicating the imminent emergence of some witty repartee that would repel this assault. I made an ass of insult. I made an ass of myself by saying insult instead of assault. Excuse me there. Forget ad-libbing. I can't even ad-lib. I'm ad-libbing. None of that's funny. Anyway, let's take a little break there and just walk over here for a bit, looking lost in thought. Let's get my exposure back. Not the shadows on the screen. Now just pretend we were back at the word assault. It's easy. Repel this assault on my natural, intrinsic, socially concerned desire to help, my desire to give. But actually, in the space of that one single breath, I've thought myself into a circle. I've exhausted all my excuses. My personal space has been violated, my armor has been pierced, and like fallen prey, I yield to the inevitable. I'm ready to give up and to give. I'm ready to take on my responsibilities. I'm ready to hand over my bank details. I'm only human after all. Whatever it is you need, I'll try to help. It's my natural state, especially if I feel the whole world is watching. So I'm mentally preparing myself to say, okay, you got me, sign me up. And it's at that very moment that everything seems to slow down. It's like a dream or something, and it hits me like an epiphany. Because the idea I'd come out into the world, looking for, that inspiration, it starts to gel right there. And I have a kind of out-of-body experience. I almost step aside from reality and allow myself to observe it, or rather observe myself in it from a distance. Because in the passage of time, even since I started talking here, and the time it is now, and the future time, you're stuck here with me till I'm finished. Your thoughts will probably drift, just as mine have. And we all know that you stroke I, okay, not you stroke I, you slash I, whatever. But we all know that while we're sitting around here, staving off boredom, until the time comes when our mouths can form nothing more than the sound of a death rattle, we all know that rather than just sitting around, we really should be getting loads of other stuff done. There's all the dust, there's the dishes, there's the clothes, the food, the kids, the essay, the cat, the dog, the shelf in the bathroom, the tap, the light, the batteries, the bike, the key to cut, the CD, the application, the proposal, the passport, the library book, the CD, the DVD, the phone, your mother, and wish her a happy birthday because it was last week, you asshole! Sorry, Mom. And before you know it, you've thought your way into that big chasm of doubt at the center of your restless soul. The unnerving to-do list that niggles at you whenever you try to relax, that causes you to doubt whether you're even capable of pulling off this life as we know it, a thing that someone must have duped you into, because otherwise, how would you ever find the time to enjoy it even just for like a little second, because you've got so much to do? And these extraneous thoughts just keep coming about things like poetry. You can make it long or unforgiving. You can strip it of its verse. You can make it an epic as opposed to a living. You can make it erotic or perverse. You can whip it out at parties. You can be abstract and all arty. You can write it all you like. You can come to blows and fight, but a poet will torture till it's perfect because they just got to get it right. And this entire complex process of communication may simply mean that these instinctive aspirations express the desire for a universal communicative collaboration. For literature grows from an infinite number of linguistic permutations, and we need not think less of any rhyming alliterations. Indeed, there can be a multitude of cross-fertilizations, to use a vernacular. I mean, no one dialect wins out. In the war of free or rhyming verses, there is little doubt that from the top of the heap to the rapping's beats, making one thing sound like another teaches a little of our lot regarding why we are here. On the other hand, a memorable refrain can still help to explain why existence on this planet seems sometimes a little weird. I thought love would give me everything I needed, like contentment and happiness with no goals impeded. But then I got you, babe, and my happiness receded. It's not easy when you're in love with a shopping channel. Love's like a shopping channel with everything up for grabs. Orange face presenters offering complimentary bags to hold all the so-called goods grabbed by us wannabe wags. It's not easy when you're in love with the shopping channel. Oh, there's toasters, there's teas maids, electric rhinestone duvets, there's curtains for certain prices and auction of castaways. It's a rip off, so get off the phone! I hear you saying, it's not easy when you're in love with the shopping channel. I bought the kids those beautiful customized lunchboxes, bought in a moment of madness, concocted when the lecky ran out to last week's milk had gone toxic. It's not easy when you're in love with the shopping channel. Meanwhile, back on the street, my little out-of-body epiphany with the child begins to fade as me and my thoughts return to the mean streets of thought. And my perfect moment of inspiration is marred only by this high-vis, fluorescent-vested stranger blocking my path into my own future. And like I said, their charity mugger training has worked. I am undone. I am resigned. I get my pen out in the middle of the street. And with a sigh, I say, okay, look, I need to get back to my talk. I'm going to write all this down, so now can we just get this over with? Where do I sign? By the way, who do you work for? You know, the animals, stroke the kids, stroke the planet, what is it? And the guy in the vest says, it's the council, man. I'll clean the streets. Are you what? And I think, oh my God. So I said, look, you know, I'm really sorry. Yeah, I just saw your high-vis vest. And naturally, I thought well, I thought you wanted me to, I mean, you know, stroke the animal, stroke the kid. No, never mind. So, you clean the streets, huh? That's fair. I think you must have been there, actually. And as I walk quickly away, I'm feeling a little guilty. I feel a little bad for the guy, so I shout back at him as I'm waving from across the busy street. You know. Hey, listen, my friend, you know, I've got this poetic dissertation that discusses rhyme to do and reason while caricaturing the human condition by looking at the aesthetics of consciousness and my own theories about like pattern recognition. So could you answer this question, you know, if you could be so kind, how do you really feel about poetry?
that does or doesn't rhyme. Thanks very much for listening. The book's nearly finished now. There's 100 pages, and there's some copies here. They're £5 each if you would like one. But if you have any questions, which may be a big ask of me, I don't know. But, if there's anything you'd like to discuss about what I've tried to discuss, then I'm happy to chat.
How long did it take you to complete all of those for the book?
Oh, the cartoons?
Yeah.
They're over, probably over the last year. There's many more. There's kind of an edited version of the work I've been doing for the last year. Yeah, pretty much a year now since last December. And I've had a couple of exhibitions in between. These are just the kind of less, these are the ones that work in small format, the box cartoons I've done. I had some exhibitions of larger pieces, more political portraits. There's a series called My Government Portfolio, which is caricatures of politicians. Yeah, I'm quite enjoying it, I must say. Do you draw yourself? It's funny how sometimes things just come from starting with a blank page, and then you draw something that turns into a character, and then you end up with a line. And other times you think of a line and you imagine the picture. So there's no rhyme or reason to it that I can fathom. And so that was part of why that seemed a good time to fit into as well.
Did you on a daily basis, Mike, if you know, if there's a good political story or something that inspired you?
Yeah, I do look at political stories, and I do try to do something every day, whether it's caricatures or writing. But these days, yeah, it's mostly caricatures, and so I will spend my time. Well, looking at the papers and looking for those kinds of stories, the political ones, and other times just looking at the blank
Will
page.
you publish anywhere else in a single continent?
There's been some published in New Humanist magazine recently, and been previously published in Our Times magazine in Canada. Then I've had various writing and image things published in things like Decode magazine, some Canadian magazines. Leonardo is the MIT Journal of Technology, so that sounds the best. Got a book archived into the Baltic Library, which is a collection of drawings from, I guess, from the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it goes back a long way, but these political things are something I've been doing for the last year. I always kind of draw, but it's only been in the last year that I thought trying to draw things that were somehow more communicative, that were somehow bringing together the text and the image, that are left separate.
Yes, look, someone who puts it as satirically topical, and that's what made me wonder whether you're, that's what inspires you, and it's, when you get it published in daily newspaper or something.
Yeah, I do try to, I do send them off on a regular basis, because and I have a website too, it's macdunlop@wordpress.com, and so I do try to, I'm just,
Multitask.
yeah, I'm trying to use it, and these are some yes, so I do send them off on a regular basis, and I self-publish, and now doing a collection. It's been an interesting kind of way to look at editing and what I think works and what doesn't. These are early. These are like a year ago. I think I've moved on quite a lot, and so the kind of everyday narrative is something I feel a bit more comfortable with. Articulate with now, whereas I was really trying quite hard to make some of these caricature is a very serious business, I think, and it does extend a long way. I think of artists. I think of a lot of artists as kind of cartoonists. I think Damien was that way. I think Banksy is an obvious one. But image makers are often presenting you with something that on the surface looks real, but is a construct, and usually the good ones are a very clever construct of bits that assemble into something we appreciate visually and accept as either real or abstract or beautiful. And so whether that's to do with something as simple as pattern recognition in us as a species, or and is that something where consciousness comes from? I don't know. There's leads you down. So the idea of cartoon, I think, takes you on a kind of journey through the art world, and the idea of how we think, why something's funny, and why something is funny visually, and why something's funny when it's told as a joke. Sorry about the, I don't know why it's doing that. What's going on with things. Anyway, so that's it. If there's no more questions.
Do you distinguish between poetry and performance?
Yes, I did. There's a lot of. Maybe we could have the lights up. Actually, is that? Thanks. Yeah. I'm wearing t-shirts. I was expecting to be freezing. So I probably shouldn't have people off. Poetry and performance, for me, are tied together. But I read a lot of good poets. I've been back into reading Penny Shuttle again. Who was a great reader, but whose words really live on the page. On the page in a book, and I really savor that. I'm not sure that I've never felt that comfortable about my words on the page in respect of those pieces that I've done. They live more as a kind of maybe pre-written kind of thing. I'm more comfortable with them in my memory. But I think that goes back a long way. Times of Homer and wonderful writing was an easily transportable craft, easily understood. So it's an interesting question, and it's one that just filters through the whole idea of literature and storytelling, poetry, novels. How we arrive at these things and how we exchange those things in languages. Really interesting. I guess lost in translation. How people who use sign language apparently can understand completely foreign kinds of sign language very quickly. Within hours they'll be chatting rather comfortably, whereas of course for us who use verbal language, you can't get anywhere near that kind of sophistication in that short time. So language has its limitations as well as its inspiration.
Some of your work reminds me of Terry Gilliam.
Oh, well, that's a very nice thing to say. I was wanted to have bottom jaw kind of. Yeah, I remember being when I was quite young, getting And I'm really sorry about being late. It's really my fault that I forgot to bring the projector. And I'd like to thank the ISA and everybody for coming in early and opening up and putting the heating on and making it so comfortable to be here. And lastly, I would like to mention that if you're interested in poetry and performance, we're doing a Caravanserai Yuletide dinner at the Courtyard Deli in Dunlop. Ray Pollard there has set up a fantastic menu. There's some posters over by the donation box about that. It's December 5th and 6th. And there's Penelope Shuttle will be one of the performers. And Rob Barrett, the Barber Bogman. And we've got Dan and Helen, who's Dan's a Bazookian mandolina player, a traditional English folk balladeer. And Helen plays Keston music, which is Hebraic dance, music of dance and celebration. So it's a night of great food and great music and storytelling and poetry, all lumped into one Yuletide festivity to celebrate the winter, the solstice, and Christmas. But there's information over there, and also if I may be so bold to encourage you to leave a donation if you can. That helps the running costs of the ISA and hiring a building and doing its publicity and that sort of thing. And if you'd like a book, they're here, they're £5. Thank you again.
Yeah, right. I just fell down Weather Hill earlier, so my back's a bit. No, it's been steeping it. Yeah, it would have hurt if I'd been drunk.